the Action Podcast. Today, with the re-release of Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, which is its 25th anniversary. The movie came out in 1999, for those that can't do the math. We decided to do a quick little, reminiscent of it. I actually re-saw it in theaters. I don't know if you guys have gone out and seen it in theaters since its original run, but...
No,
I have not, and I will not be.
I agree with Drew. I'm not going to go.
Well, this is where having the AMC pass is slightly beneficial. I wanted to see it just, I do remember seeing it in theaters the first time. And so I just, had the opportunity to see it again and want to do it. And the crazy part is, we'll get into what the good, the bad, and the ugly with this film. This is not going to be our traditional podcast where everything is rosy. We're going to, not shy away from the elephant in the room, because this movie is not so critically acclaimed. Some would consider this the bottom.
It's widely regarded as the worst Star Wars movie ever made. I think.
Attack of the Clones, I think, is lower.
Really?
Yeah.
We're splitting hairs. They're both bad.
We're splitting. Because Revenge of the Sith I liked. Revenge of the Sith I could make work, but this one was. And we'll get into that. We'll get into all the good stuff, guys. We'll get into all this good stuff on what we love, what we hate, all that good stuff. But again, while we're watching this, got re-released. It actually made $8.7 million this past weekend, which tied for the second best
what are we doing?
Of all time behind Avatar. It beat a lot of newer movies. So it just shows you that regardless of what people may or may not feel about this still has that Star Wars drawing power, and 9 million is nothing to wink about. A lot of movies, The Fall Guy had a third of that, which is just insane, and that's a brand new,
George Lucas
is really well done.
George Lucas is in his Scrooge McDuck coin
just swimming
with his Jar Jar mask on, swimming through the gold bullion.
Yeah, exactly.
Spitting out coins out of his mouth.
Yeah,
in a nice steady stream. That's really unbelievable that that it got that sort of a draw. I can see, like, for nostalgia, like, I wonder if, like, people just went to make fun of it, or
it was both.
We'll get into it, but
it was definitely both. The reactions were all across the board, cheering, laughing, all over the board. So I think this movie has all of the above on that. And so just if this is maybe your first time ever hearing about Star Wars Episode 1, if that's possible, this is, of course, directed and written by George Lucas, the creator of the Star Wars franchise. This stars Ewan McGregor, Liam Neeson, and Natalie Portman. And the movie is about two Jedi escape a hostile...
Also, Sam Jackson of Paws Fury fame is in this movie.
Yes, great job, Pete. Thanks for interrupting my premise here. Yeah. Okay. I'll just start from the top, since I don't remember exactly the middle of the sentence where I left off. But
you can mention Sam Jackson from Paws Fury fame.
There you go. Okay. Two Jedi escape a hostile blockade to find allies and come across a young boy who may bring balance to the Force. But the long dormant Sith resurface to claim their original glory. Budget and box office. This movie cost $115 million. That's, of course, in 1999 or 1998, really. And grossed $1.04 billion, made $484 million domestic.
That's crazy. That much money.
This also got nominated for 3 Academy Awards, to include Best Sound Effects Editing. Our boy Ben Burtt, who did his Lost Ark, the original Star Wars. He's arguably considered one of the greatest sound editors of all time. And visual effects as well. And that's the one that's like, really? Visual effects?
No, that's ridiculous.
Terrible in this one.
That's horrible.
Reviews. This actually has a 6.5 IMDb rating.
I saw that.
That's crazy. But let's get into what we think, and then we'll get into the exterior reviews. But we'll start with you, Drew, today. Tell us about your feelings. Maybe talk about the first time you've seen Star Wars Episode 1. What you're feeling, all the 9.
So I was in college, and we've done Star Wars Episode 4 on here. We've talked ad nauseum in various lists about where Star Wars ranks, and kind of us being the same age. I think we have a lot of collective similarities in terms of some of the most important movies for ourselves. Star Wars: New Hope, the whole first trilogy, probably the most watched films of my childhood, meant everything to me. And so, at a time in my life where I like it, still we didn't have streaming services, and like you still went to the movies, and this came out in '99, and I remember thinking like it's a nostalgia train. I'm gonna get together with some of my old friends. We're gonna go back to the movie theater where one of those friends worked when we were in high school, and go and see the movie. Like super super jazzed for it. I just remember this being like one of the moments in my life that I had the biggest anticipation for. Going to
No
see Bob
kidding.
going to see Bob Dylan for the first time. Like there's a few different touchstones in my life where I'm like, oh my god, this is gonna be the greatest day ever. And then we went and we watched, and
Phantom Menace.
a few minutes in, I was like, this is not my Star Wars from my youth. And I
Yeah.
know we're going to get into a lot of the reasons why we felt that way. But I left with just, I don't want to say deflated, but kind of deflated. Like just that didn't live up to anything that I hoped it would be. And we'll talk about why.
It almost begged the question when you were done watching this first one. It's like you watched it and then you were like, the next two better be really good. And then you almost defended it at first, where you're like,
They're
no,
just
no,
setting
guys,
it up.
yeah, just wait for the second one because then it's gonna make sense why they went to Naboo, which we've never heard of in our lives, and now we're a part of this world. Okay, it's gonna pay off. Don't worry about it. And then the second one happened. You're like, okay. However, the third one is gonna crush. You have no idea. Just wait. It's all gonna work out. Yeah, this was, this movie gets a bad rap a lot, and I'm like, if you put yourself in the present moment, right? Like when this movie came out, sure, um, it didn't live up to Star Wars fans' standards or whatever. But no offense to Star Wars fans, but you need lives like really bad. Like what you guys did to poor Jake Lloyd in his career, like you destroyed his career. Like you just murdered this kid.
Gonna go on a Ben Affleck rant right now.
No, honestly, like it's just it's sad because I mean he was fine, whatever. Like his character was
Actually,
was
I
kind of.
like Jake Lloyd in this. I thought he's one of the better parts of it.
I didn't, but
I think
I didn't.
Natalie, we'll get into this, but
Yeah, we'll get into it. So I thought the story was fine. I thought that the execution was lackluster.
yeah,
I think there were some really good characters and then like really bad characters. And unfortunately, and that goes with a lot of other things as well. There were some really cool, amazing Star Wars things that we've never seen before. And then there were so many things that just tipped the scales into bad. But there was so much cool stuff in this film and great characters in this film. And the story itself, it's not a bad Star Wars story. Like, what else are you going to do? Um, it was fine. I just thought it was executed very poorly, but it's not a horrible movie. It's not as bad as everybody rips on it all the time.
Yeah, I agree. I think obviously
Point, Peter.
I think Jar Jar Binks, I think just leaves such a sour taste in everybody's mind. And even when I watched this re-release again, he literally takes away from the movie so much. And sometimes it's just so distracting. And it's just like, oh my goodness, dude, like tone it down. And it's not the actor's fault. This is just again, like you're saying, poor execution. Because I when I was watching the movie, I was trying to watch it. I can just enjoy it because I agree with both of you. The anticipation was high. I remember watching the trailer, and it gave me like goosebumps. You know what I mean? It was. I watched that.
Got the goose flesh.
I watched that trailer so many times, and I don't even know how I would do that because we didn't have YouTube at that time. So maybe I'm lying. Oh, it would just be in theaters. I'm sorry. It would be in theaters, but I remember I'm going to go
Had
see.
the AMC pass back then, so
Yeah.
you're just able to watch
The Man 6 theaters. And
up to three movies every week.
yeah. And I just remember like the trailer just giving me so many odds. But I know I left the movie when I first watched it. I definitely remember being happy with it. I'm not saying I loved it, but I was happy with it. Especially I thought the ending made up for kind of the middle where I think it needs work. But the ending and I think for me Darth Maul were really like Darth Maul for me I think saves this movie and keeps it. I absolutely love Darth Maul. And
I mean, yes and no.
The way he looks, the double-sided lightsaber, I was all in on that. I still am. I'm
sure,
a big
but I mean, Darth Maul is like one of the cooler characters. It's like if you were going to make a good and a bad and then a both, Darth Maul's a both because it's a great character, but they didn't even utilize him in this movie hardly at all. He was barely in this movie.
That was the research I noticed is they cut a lot of his lines. They cut a big chunk of really who he is. And I think that's where this movie really also missed was this villain that should have been easily two. And then the way he got killed is the worst way. Like, he has the best reactions we've ever seen from a villain, faster than Darth Vader. Like, this guy was amazing. And then he got killed like a bitch. And I was just like, come on, dude. Like, nobody believed that actually would have happened. And I think that was the only thing that really did it disservice, I thought. But we'll go into some of this in the latter part of the scenes. I'd
like to at some point talk about the characters themselves, if we can make that one of these segments.
Let's just do it right now. Look, we don't really need to stick to my script. That's just to kind of help guide us. But
before you get into
Drew has something to say.
Yeah, before you get into the characters, I just want to say because you brought up Jar Jar. He's my screen, he's my background, obviously, because it's a joke.
It's not. You love him. You love him a lot.
He's your favorite character.
No.
He's your favorite.
Why I struggled so much.
Yeah, his kid's name is Jar Jar.
What? It's
Jar Jar Stewart.
First and middle name.
Jar Jar Stewart. It's got a ring
the reason
to it.
I think why I was so deflated, and I agree with you. I didn't leave saying like that's the worst movie I've ever seen. I left feeling not great about it because my expectations going in had been so high, and it didn't live even close to them. The problem with Jar Jar is the character is bad, and I don't blame the actor. I blame George Lucas.
Oh, like I blame everything George Lucas.
But I know, I mean this sincerely. Like, at what point this guy is a genius? He's a true genius.
Correct.
And at what point did he go so far off the rails? And that there was did they do zero test screening? Because they basically wrote Jar Jar significantly out of it.
I don't think they did test screening.
So whether it's arrogance,
it's probably too hush hush to.
Whether it's arrogance, whether it's he just lost his touch.
100% of arrogance.
How he could have been so off on that character, and I think if Jar Jar hadn't been in the movie, we're talking about it completely. We feel very differently about this movie.
I would love the movie.
I think the movie is. Yeah, I think the movie's.
But
they should do like They should do the old version, like when they talked about the original Rambo, First Blood, where they just they had all this dialogue shot, but then they decided, let's just cut all the dialogue, and it became like the best movie ever. Yeah. We should do the same thing with Jar Jar. Like just eliminate him.
And so my only...
Jar Jar or George Lucas is the Bill Belichick of filmmaking, like somebody who just thinks that he can make all of these amazing draft decisions for his team and is horrible at it. And he should just stick to just coaching. Lucas should just stick to something that he's, good at.
And he must be a tyrant because the fact that none of his producers, nobody in the inner circle said, bro, this doesn't work. And it made it all the way to the end. Like, it's astonishing. And it really is. It's actually unbelievable.
Yeah.
I would say that to him. I'd be like, bro.
I think he had that much power. I think he is, you understand he made.
He did.
In Raiders Lost Ark, who's going to really question him? And this was his baby. and I 100% know for a fact that it was his way or the highway, and which is why ultimately they wanted him to sell after this. It's like, dude,
He lost.
we're not giving you free power again. It's either sell it to us or, we're not doing this again because again, I think the production design was a huge mistake. He went away from practical, and I mean, this is at
It was
nauseam.
so heavy.
Yeah, all the CGI was terrible. There's even in my notes, all the sets were only built actors high, so you just lose. Like even the actors were talking about it. Like when they would go to shoot their scenes, they're looking at nothing, and like it's just 100%.
That was my biggest complaint about the effects themselves, is that whenever somebody would talk to a CG character, they were talking way off. Like if my microphone is like the person I'm supposed to be talking to, I'm like literally talking like over here, and it just looks bad.
Yeah.
Every time they turn to Jar Jar, every time they turn to the flying guy, the slave master, whoever that was.
Do you remember
I
when
forget
they
his name?
Sent out the remaster of Episode 4, like the first 3?
Yeah.
You guys remember the remaster, and they added a few scenes with CGI, and it stuck out like a sore thumb, and it looked horrible.
Yeah, it was awful.
And then they just made that the whole movie. It's astonishing.
But you're talking about when Han Solo steps on Jabba's tail.
Yeah, that one's bad.
Then like the animals in the sand.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
It's so bad.
Like, there's a scene where like they have like the X-wing like comes in and floats. Like that one I like. I mean, I agree with you. It was very hit and miss. Some of it looked great, but then some of it looked so out of place and didn't work. But I like the coloring looked better. They added some things that looked better.
I didn't mind the remastering. I minded the CGI.
Correct. Yeah. I'm with you. The CGI just wasn't there yet. And again, I think the reliance on it, as opposed to making it again, he like Return of the Jedi looks so good, and he went away from what worked and what made the movie great. And again,
Return of the Jedi, even in all the Force scenes, I mean, it was so practical. Like it was literally in a forest. It felt like, like you just felt like you were in this world. Like even when you were in that, when you got to Naboo, it was like I felt like I was just walking on a set, and then they added everything else. Like it just didn't work.
Also Cloud City and Empire Strikes Back.
That felt like I was in the clouds.
Yeah.
And there was a city there.
We're talking about director's chair, basically. So, because this is what I was going to say. Like, this is my biggest problem.
Are we doing this now?
I mean, we're pretty much already in it.
We're pretty. So, like, for me, you guys have already hit on most of it. What was great about the original Star Wars was how much it all seemed real. Yeah. Given that it was the 70s or early 80s, given the fact that technology isn't anything close to what it is today, the fact that they made the sets look that good and all of the action look so realistic.
Yeah.
And then you could see it get ruined with the CGI
art in filmmaking.
100%.
Models. Nobody does it anymore.
And it was adult.
Some do now, but yeah.
It felt adult. And then
Lord of the Rings did it, but
this film came out and it seemed childlike. It was almost it was like a cartoon.
Yeah. That was actually one review here. It's a kiddie movie rejiggered for childish grown-ups.
Yeah. And it just, the whole tone felt differently, both aesthetically as well as just the general vibe of it. And so for me, that's what it is like they leaned into this computer stuff and ruined the entire feel.
It was almost Star Wars. It was almost, I agree with that. It was almost like they, got so excited about like an emerging technology that they couldn't wait 2 more years to have it actually look good and be presentable. They just wanted to just go all out and like, we have the first version of this technology, and it was just really bad. If I'm director's chair, I would have cut out the yub sequence at the end. I'm so tired of these yub sequences at the end of these movies, where you got all the Gungans or whatever they're called doing all the drums, and it's a big parade, and they're about to. I almost like thought that they were going to go into like some kind of like a Shrek dance and song number at the end of it. Like, just stay away from that. Just end the movie. Just end it. You don't need to do a yub yub, nub
Yep.
nub, whatever that's
Yeah,
called.
I'm kind of with you. I think, if they would have even done just focused on, like, I mean, they do it, they kind of throw it in that scene, but yeah, make it more intimate and then make it more sinister. So like intimate and sinister, then kind of leads into the other one. You don't have to do the exact same formula as the first one or yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. The scene I would have cut out, which is completely unnecessary and adds absolutely zero, is the when they go under the world or whatever. It's not on the way to the Gungans, but it's like,
With the fish.
Well, I mean, but
yeah,
they needed,
like they're chasing like
but
the
they needed a reason to keep Jar Jar with them, and so they had to create that scene in order
No,
to
you don't
bring
need the
him.
scene. No. I'm saying
He's the only one that knew how to get through the
that's fine.
tunnel.
You can just say, "I know how to get us there," and you can get us there. But we don't need 10 minutes of them going underwater with these weird
One
creatures.
and then
Yeah, it was-
There's
That's like, how
always
many times are you gonna
a
do that?
bigger fish.
It was, yeah, exactly. It was.
That's
fake.
my problem. There were so many really just. I mean, the jokes just were delivered so poorly. Like they were bad. Like the jokes
Yeah.
were bad.
That's my
even
point. There was
Anakin.
nothing positive with that scene. You could have cut out that whole sequence. Nobody would have missed anything.
This is pod racing.
Yeah. Now,
No, bro, it's not.
It's,
It's actually not.
It's so bad. Okay,
That's-
that's why I didn't like poor Jake Lloyd, who I'm sure he's a fine person, but his lines during that end battle sequence they were just really
well, that's the script. That's not him.
poorly done. That was
He had
really
other
bad.
lines.
Yeah, it's not on him.
He had
No,
another
it's
line.
not on him
Great.
at all. That's what I just said. But
Yeah.
at the same time, it's just like,
I'm a person. My
Yeah.
name's Anakin.
I'm a man.
All right,
It's
do you
so
want to do
bad.
worst lines then? Since we're there.
Yeah, why not? Let's just jump into that one.
Oh, yeah, I don't know worst lines.
I mean, we're saying them. Those are some of my worst ones. I'm a
For me, it's
I mean,
PU, son. The fart joke
Oh
at
yeah,
the
that one.
pod race. Like
I mean,
anything that Jar Jar says, but
Yeah,
that
anything
was
yeah,
Jar
the worst
Jar
line is anything
is
Jar Jar
probably-
says.
really a fart joke, George Lucas.
yeah.
I think that my worst lines have to be whenever Amandala talks when
that-
she's not Padme, when she's like the actual queen. She's just such a fucking like bore, and I want her to just. Why would you make that character like that? She doesn't have to be emotionless. She's not a Vulcan.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to be like that. It's just like
We will not
I
discuss
thought
this invasion in a treaty.
I vote for no confidence.
She's so bad.
It
It's
is crazy
really bad.
because we've
And
already
Natalie
seen her
Portman
act.
Is
She's
one of the
so
best
good.
actresses on the planet. And
Well,
it's
even at that
so
age,
good.
she's still it. Like she's an amazing actress. So, and again, I'm gonna chalk it up.
She
to
hadn't even yet crushed acting when she got this role. Like she crushed after this role, but man,
No, she did.
Have you
She was in
seen-
The Professional?
dude, the professional.
the
She's
professional was
amazing.
amazing.
She's
Sure,
14.
but she
and
was
amazing.
14.
Yeah, it was right.
Here she's
we're-
what, 18?
Yeah, no, I think she's like 16. It was right before this.
No way, she's 16 in this movie.
She was incredible on the professional.
And she just
So
I don't
good.
know if she's just good on being casted on this because she
That's a movie we should review. Is The
can't
Professional.
shoot a blaster.
So
like-
I'm all in.
Wait,
Jean
what do you-
Reno in that movie is so amazing.
Oh, John
It-
Right on.
Krasinski in that one. That's his favorite movie.
That's
It's
like
so good.
one of the best movies ever.
Yeah. But how she shoots a gun too is just terrible. Like
it was awful.
it's like don't like again. I blame George Lucas. Like, hey, okay, you don't need to. It doesn't have that much kick. Like you're good. Like just
Here's my other issue with bad lines.
like holds
And that
it. Like,
is, yeah. The other issue I always had, like, Yoda always rubbed me the wrong way in this movie and in the subsequent movie. It's like there was just something about him. The way he was written, it was almost exaggerated Yoda. It wasn't like, I don't know. I felt like the 4, 5, and 6 Yodas were a little bit more natural. Whenever he would talk, it wasn't so over the top, but
Right.
everything that he would say
He's
just
also kinda
pissed me
angry.
off.
He's
kinda
just always,
angry.
he's always so disgruntled.
But I
Yeah.
got pissed off when I was watching. Every time Yoda talked, I just got mad at,
Yeah.
at the screen. And I'm like, well, why are you like this? Like, you weren't supposed to be like this. Like I get, and then I don't know. There's something about Obi-Wan as well, and Ewan McGregor's fantastic, and he's a great Obi-Wan, and it's clear because he got a series out of it as well because he's that good. But even like his young, like I'm so young, but I'm still kind of joking and like doing all like the kind of jokey stuff with
Liam Neeson.
Qui-Gon, um, who by the way was a phenomenal character. Like even
Yeah.
though he had a couple of like stupid lines, but whatever. His
Yeah,
character
that's
was
his strength.
badass. I
No,
loved his character.
I could have used the whole series on him and been like, I want to hear the story of Qui-Gon.
Yes.
He was my Oscar winner. Like he's the best. Liam Neeson.
Spoiler alert.
Well,
Whoa.
I mean, I don't know, we're just kind of flowing. Like he's
Over
good.
Jake Lloyd.
Yeah, he's so good in this. Like, and it
Yeah.
seems like he would be such a fish out of water given what we think about Liam Neeson now. He does a phenomenal job.
What's your favorite thing that he does in this movie?
Like single thing, or
Yeah,
what do
like
I
what's
like the most?
the single coolest thing that Qui-Gon does?
Oh man,
It's the
I-
first time we've seen it in the Star Wars universe. What does he do?
Is it
what?
what he
When they
says,
first encounter when they first encounter those droids, and he just pushes them and they go flying. He uses that force, but he does it in like a force push.
Yeah.
We never saw that before, and I remember like specifically when I saw this movie, that was
Darth Vader does
amazing.
that in Empire Strikes Back. He throws the things at
Yeah,
Luke.
No, but he doesn't. But he doesn't do it to a person. Like nobody ever just he never used it as.
Yeah, they kind of expounded on it, but Darth Vader does it.
But this is what I liked about the movie. There was a few things. There was that where they do the force push or whatever. But there was also like you never saw them use a lightsaber to like jab into a door and start to like open up a hole. Like
that was cool.
They started to utilize some like really cool stuff, and then you got the double-edged lightsaber by Darth Maul. Like there were like some really cool things that they were starting to evolve that Star Wars world a little bit. They just again execution wise just wasn't that great, but there were some like really cool stuff, great characters, cool stuff as well.
My Oscar went to Darth Maul only because like one
least screen time.
I love the way he looked. He obviously like with Darth Vader he has this stupid looking helmet, but this is the best looking villain in the Star Wars universe that we've seen that actually looks like, oh shit, he can actually kick our ass. Where Darth Vader was, he had a 70s outfit, like, like a big ass helmet. Like, I mean, obviously they make fun of it in Spaceballs, but but Darth Maul looks like an actual, like, you're actually like scared of the guy. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, okay, shit. He takes off, he's got the horns on his head. Like, I loved his face paint. Like, and then I just love the fact that he is uber athletic. He is by far the most athletic Jedi we've ever seen, or wielding and you believe that he is a legit warrior, which is why I was just more pissed of how they did him wrong, because I'm like, dude, no one does anything near him, and then he's kicking both of their ass the whole fight. What's his face is down there. He eyes the lightsaber for 26 seconds. It zooms in. They both look at it. They both look back. They both look at it.
Yeah.
I wonder what he's thinking right now. Like, it's just like they completely suspended all like reaction time that he had, and then he's able to up and over, and he does this move like a 8-year-old playing t-ball. And he just puts his head up like that and gets sliced. Like, he wouldn't just naturally stick his thing up. Like, I don't know. There's so many ways that he could have defended that. Anybody with his skill set would have easily done, and they
after what we just saw him do, then why wouldn't
he just been an absolute bitch? I was just against that.
Yeah, that was a massive disappointment. My award I'm with Drew. I would have given it to
Qui-Gon,
Liam Neeson, because
I think it's a great. I agree with that.
He encapsulated what like a true Jedi was supposed to be like. And what I was asking you, Drew, earlier, like my favorite scene of him is when those shields go in between them as they're fighting Darth Maul,
and he goes down and he
just
meditates.
Goes down and he meditates and he waits. Yeah, and that's so Jedi, and that's fucking awesome. Like that made me love that character even more, was the fact that he just
I agree with you. The only reason I don't love it is because he gets killed immediately after that.
Yeah, I know.
They kind of
It
did
didn't
wrong.
work.
They kind of did it wrong too. Like, it's just like it's like, dude, we got the best lightsaber battle we've ever seen in our entire life. How are we gonna beat each other? And then it's like gave everybody bitch way out, and it's just like, it's like, I don't know. I think we need to spend a little more time on the script to figure out how to those guys could have died better. But yeah, I'm with you guys.
They ran out of time. We got to kill him. We got to go.
I think they could have there could have been something different. I mean, I'd have to really, really think about what I would have done, but, or it could have been like, just add another deke to it. Cause it was just like, I don't know. That one wasn't as bad as the Darth Maul one. Darth Maul one, I was just the worst. Just the worst setup. Like, it's just, even gravity wise, it like doesn't even work.
I don't disagree.
All right, let's hop into what was your favorite scene out of this whole movie? And we've talked about some cool things already. If you want to, I want to go back to the other scene Pete just talked about, because I do want to give it a shout out. But again, like Pete talked about how Qui-Gon was, you got to see person's kind of like temperament too, because you saw what's his face, kind of just like looking on, like he's still the Padawan type thing, Obi-Wan. But then you saw Darth Maul like heaving back and forth, you know, like filled with rage and all that good stuff, and then Qui-Gon chill. So again, I love that juxtaposition between all three of them. I thought that worked effectively. Drew, what do you got for your best scene?
Interestingly, I struggled with this. That one was a good scene, except for Qui-Gon died. So
if this movie was French, then you'd easily have 20 best scenes.
Funny that you say that, because my favorite scene has the woman with the weird French accent for no apparent reason. Anakin's mom. The dinner scene where they're deciding whether or not she's going to let him pod race. And like she doesn't want to give him up, and Anakin in one of his best moments, like he says it in like a kind of a whiny voice or whatever, but in one of his best moments is like, you always say that's the problem with the universe, is that nobody helps each other, and like convinces his mom.
I hate that line.
Oh, really? I'm not saying I withdrew. I think that was a good line.
No, it was delivered poorly.
I'm not saying, like I said, I don't love how he said it. He sounds whiny when he's saying it, but that line to convince the mom about the greater good and her willingness to sacrifice him potentially to this cause.
Yeah. We're just supposed to help each other, aren't we, Ma?
And you love Qui-Gon being super meditative before he gets murdered 1 second later.
Yeah, because that's badass. Dude, that's so badass.
I can meditate.
That line
capped
is ridiculous.
All right, Pete, what do you got? What is your favorite scene?
I mean, I don't really have a favorite scene. I thought that the most, it's not my favorite, but it's certainly underrated. I thought the pod racing scene, the whole sequence was amazing, and I enjoyed it. And I thought it was a perfect little thing to put in the middle of this movie.
You and I are on opposite ends. That's my worst scene.
But there had to be something, and at least it was fast paced. At least it was action packed. Dialogue aside,
do you know how long? Do you know how long it was? I timed it.
It was like, I don't know, like 8 minutes.
14 and a half minutes.
Yeah. I'm with Drew. It's a little too long, and then I think we could have used without all the, like, the engine doesn't start in the beginning and all that. Like,
that's an eighth of the movie.
It made it like unbelievable in terms of like, he was in last place. You're talking about the guy that wins all the time.
I just thought it was needed.
I was like,
I just thought it was needed at that point in the film. Like there had to have been something.
It's needed in a modified fashion. Again, they
could have been shorter. I agree with that.
Yeah, I'm with you.
All right, Drew.
My favorite scene is my favorite scene is more of a moment, but we're setting up the final battle. And they're going to go down this way, and the doors open, and then you have the John Williams Fate of a Duel of the Fates music comes right on, and you just see Darth Maul, and then all of a sudden he does this, and then it shoots out both, and you're just like, what? 2 lightsabers? Like, dude, that was my favorite moment.
That was a boner moment if I've ever had one watching a Star Wars movie. You know what I mean? Like the 2 things just popping at you, just like,
But with the
What
John
just
Williams
happened?
music, yeah, with the John Williams music, the dual lightsabers, which we've never seen before.
That was money.
The way he's holding it too, like again, he just looks. You're just like, oh shit, here we go. Like I don't know.
Because he does the one side, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden it's like, the second side pops out too.
Yeah, I mean,
Man,
I don't
it's
think
so good.
I don't think there's a moment like that in any other Star Wars where you're just like, oh shit, we've never really fully seen something like that. I'm trying to rack my head right now. I can't really think of another moment in the Star Wars universe where I legit like lost my breath. Like there's better sequences and all that stuff where it's exciting overall in general, but I don't think there's
but
a moment where that big
moment.
In episode 4, when Darth and Obi-Wan have their battle, when Obi-Wan dies,
Yes.
and it's just Darth's breathing, like there's no noise, and it's like almost like a vacuum in his breathing, and then just and the lightsaber comes up. That's pretty.
Yeah.
That's a pretty.
It was
is.
pretty
It's just-
intense, but I mean, Darth
it's
Maul
not
when
the
he
same
busts
level.
out that
Yeah,
double
I don't-
saber,
I don't feel the same way about Darth Maul as you guys do.
I
Only
think
because
took my
I love
pants
that
off in the
song.
movie.
He's a painted clown with Hellraiser head.
I
weird.
love I love the music too. Like I said, I think for me it's the combination of music and how it's set up. For me, that's my best.
I agree
Why
with
this
Paul.
movie is not
Peter.
good? Why this movie is not good is because we are arguing good at best and worst parts for multiple parts.
Yeah, seriously.
Like it's crazy.
Yeah, it's polarizing. It's super polarizing. But I think that's why it's a 6.4, right? Like some people love parts, some people don't.
Yeah.
I know there's people that actually like Jar Jar Binks, and it's like, what?
I've never met a single person who likes Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah. Pete, what's your worst scene?
Yikes. I don't know. I was a little bit unprepared for this. I
mean,
I don't like Anakin. I don't like Yoda. I don't like Jabba the Hutt in this movie at all. She's so bad. I don't know. I don't really have a specific scene that I just don't like. I just think it's really about. It looks like there was a lot of effort and time and money put into the movie, but then when you watch it, it feels like, did you guys even develop this at all? Like, did you really put any thought into it? Because you could have easily just taken a step back and realized that this wasn't going to play out the way you wanted it to play out. And I don't know. I don't have a overall just a bad scene. I just have a bad feeling about the movie, even though it's not, again, it's not an awful movie. It's just really just poorly done. And that's my answer.
Yeah, I don't have a scene. I mean, the scene I said, probably that one you can just completely cut out. But then, like, my worst moment for sure is pretty much the introduction of Jar Jar Binks. Like, it's just so long, and again, it just didn't fit. He just did not fit anything we've seen in Star Wars, and so it was just so, like, the whole dialogue conversation. It was like too long of a conversation. The Awusa.
It wasn't needed at all.
No.
This whole army of people in the big battle scene were going to get murdered, and the only reason they were saved is because the other people killed the, like, space. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
they were
45 minutes of pointlessness.
They were just dead bodies. That's all they were, walking around.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, let's be real, right? I mean, this kind of goes in the director's chair, but I kind of agree. You can literally cut out all the Gungans. They're not necessary. And then you can make all that the people of Naboo. And they're fighting for their thing. And you can actually have a better battle between droids and people. And
so you don't want Gungan style at all in this movie?
I don't think it's necessary. Well, again, it's kind of... It made it all kind of worthwhile because they were just getting beat, and then they just died. All the droids died because of the thing, which is kind of like, all right,
okay,
it's kind of
it's bad, but good. It's bad but good. It's really weird. Like, this movie really does tear you apart.
I feel like we've done all the lines, right? Is there?
I don't need lines. I don't have any lines.
Is there any other closing statement, guys? Or if not, I'd say. Think we've talked enough.
No. I think at the end of the day, in summary, they had really great characters that they introduced to us, including Sam Jackson from Paws of Fury fame. And, there were also some very bad characters. And, I mean, there were
Also,
good,
positive.
amazing things, but then there was also, like, really bad things. I think, unfortunately, in this world,
Yeah,
things got
seesaw.
outweighed.
Yeah,
So,
super seesaw.
know,
It was still entertaining. I thought seeing it in the theater again. Like I said, it had very mixed reactions.
Yep.
But people were psyched up. Like, I mean, they applauded when the Lucasfilm thing came on. I mean, it was like watching a premiere, man. It was insane. But you can still see the passion for it. I think,
just applaud.
yeah, it's
What are you applauding?
Yeah. But yeah, so I think that just sums up everything that we know about this.
Amazing.
All right, so we're gonna wrap this episode up, guys, with our top 5 Star Wars villains. We want to end this on a positive note because that obviously
A what?
positive note.
Okay, positive note. Got it.
Yeah, because most of this podcast has not been positive, so let's end this.
There's some positivity in this one.
Some positivity, yeah.
Always happy to see Drew. I mean, that's positive.
There you go.
Thanks, Peter.
I'm excited to see Jar Jar Binks behind Drew too. That's also a huge added bonus.
Just like he's gonna lick you. It's gross.
That was intentional.
All right, so let's just do you guys want to do your whole list or you want to do round robin?
What's round robin?
Like,
Just
we
like
all say our
each go
5,
around.
I'll say our 4.
Oh, that's fine.
You want to do the round robin?
Let's round robin it. Let's go crazy.
All right,
Let's go
Drew,
bananas today.
You'll start it off.
Okay. So this first one is not going to speak to what you're going to find later as a trend, but I had a hard time separating the bad guys from my childhood, like the original trilogy, because like,
Sounds deeply psychological.
Yeah.
no. Like me,
Bad guys in my life growing up.
it's very heavy with the original trilogy because they were scary and I was little.
Of course.
Number 5 for me is Kylo Ren. Driver does Driver, one of the best actors alive today. He does a great job, obviously killing Han and the whole thing. He's
Well, spoiler alert, Drew. Come on.
Whoa.
oh, sorry. I didn't
I'm just kidding.
realize nobody had seen that one. So Kylo Ren for me is number 5. It probably could be higher, but he's great.
Yeah. Pete, what do you got?
I agree with that. I mean, did you see the SNL skit when he's on it's one of the funniest things
Oh yeah.
I think I've ever seen. So I would have made Kylo Ren my 5, but because you said it, I'm gonna say Grand Moff Tarkin is my number 5. That
Alright.
dude is so cold, and he's got that British accent, and he's just you're far too trusting, and he just I don't know, he comes in, he's such a fucking dick. Like
Yeah.
and he plays it to perfection. Grand Moff Tarkin, he was like the OG
I just
typical Star Wars villain, right? Like he's just like that Imperial guy. That's how we got introduced to the Imperial world. Grand Moff Tarkin, son, number
Yeah.
5.
My 5 might be an upset pick, but that's all right. I'm going with this is my
Oh, boy.
list. So my number 5 is Darth Sidious, aka the Emperor. I think he's got a range.
I have issue with that.
Okay. Smell him on that?
That name versus the Emperor are two different characters almost. Like the Emperor is what we saw in
That's
the
Darth
first.
The Darth Sidious
Yes.
actual name.
I know that, but what we knew as the Emperor from the first 3 movies versus the Darth Sidious that he ultimately became, I feel like those are two different characters. The original Emperor, like when he was just known as the Emperor, he was so awesome. He's my number 4, by the way. The Emperor, not Darth Sidious.
Oh, what's the
I
same?
don't like that character.
I don't even know how
It's
you
not the
different-
same guy. It's not the same guy.
All right, whatever. That's a terrible
Drew,
argument.
back me up.
Minus
Back
point.
me up.
Emperor Palpatine is on my list, not Darth Sidious.
Yes, because Darth Sidious is a dumb character, not like the Emperor who's
That's a
badass.
Sith name, guys. It's a Sith name.
It's a stupid name,
Okay. Oh,
and he's a stupid character.
same character. I'm just talking about the same guy though.
So my number 4,
Well, hold on. It's my number 4. My number 4. This guy's probably not in any of your list because I doubt you
Nick
guys.
Hunenberger. That's what we need.
So this guy was originally in the
That's
book.
the Hawaiian burger joint.
This one's originally in the books after the first trilogy, and that's how I first got introduced to him. And he was supposed to
You had to
be
get some tasty burgers.
the villain in the next in 7, 8, and 9, but they went a different route. But they reintroduced him in Ahsoka, and I was super excited about it. A lot of fans were, but it's Grand Admiral Thrawn, and he is a very cool guy. He's like Grand Moff Tarkin on steroids, but
He's
a great character. I'm excited to see him more in Ahsoka, because I think that's actually one of the best Star Wars series that there've been, and I'm excited to see more of Grand Admiral Thrawn. He's a beast. That's
probably going to be the only comments that we get. Like everything that we said, this whole thing, everyone's going to be like, "Oh my god, yeah, Osaka, I love it." Yeah, like somebody's going to be like all behind that, and I have no idea what you're talking about.
You haven't seen Ahsoka yet?
No, yeah. No, I mean, dude, we got to watch like 50 movies every week. Anyways, my number 4 is the Emperor, the real Emperor, and
you already said that.
The other one can go to hell.
Oh, are we just doing it like this? You want to do
Snake it? Snake it up.
So I'm gonna go 4 and 3.
Yeah.
4 and then 3.
I have Jabba as my number 4. Shout out to the original. Him in Return of the Jedi. He's diabolical. He's as I get older, he's a little more ridiculous. I don't love the CGI version of him later, but the original Jabba I like. Number 3 is Grand Moff Tarkin, when he has got Princess Leia in the Death Star, and they're blowing up the planet. Like, his cold delivery and absolute just lack of any empathy or care for any.
Yeah, there was a nonchalance to his go ahead and blow it up now, please.
Yeah, so cold and casual about it. He freaked me out.
Yeah, I don't know if there were really a ton of characters like him in cinema at the time. Like this very this is my normal day of life. I'm gonna blow up a planet, and he does it so much. There's really no. I'm trying to rack my head for movies before this. Because even the gangsters, they always, gangster villains or whatever, they would always be a little more bombastic. But he was
cold-blooded.
Yeah. Interesting. I wonder if he's
cold-blooded.
All right, Pete, what do you got?
Number 3, right? Number 3 for me is Darth Maul. I mean, despite the fact that we only saw a little taste of him, but then I found out that they're going to make a series out of him, and I can't wait for that. Because I've always been just fascinated with that character. I got a taste of him in the first movie. I didn't get to see him for 2 other movies after that, and then there was another 3 movies after that where everything's gone, right? He's just like this body chopped in half at the bottom of some tube, but he was a badass character. He came in, didn't have to talk a lot, didn't need to, and he introduced an amazing aspect of the Sith to us with that double-edged lightsaber. And that dude just crushed.
Yeah,
came on screen for 2 seconds, just blew us out of the water.
Yeah,
that's power. That's power, Drew.
My 3rd is Kylo Ren, for I think a lot of the reasons you guys have already said. I think
Drew likes my answer.
His acting, obviously, I think puts him above a lot of other villains. He's just a next level actor compared to everybody else. But he also had the physical chops. I mean, Adam Driver's a tall guy. I felt like he also worked out and got more swole in this film. And the way, a lot of people were quick with the lightsaber, but he came with sheer power. And when he came down on it, I mean, you can see it on the screen. He wielded a very heavy saber, and I like that aspect of it. I like his look, and just overall, I think he worked for me. Number 2, I've already went into huge depth, but of course, Darth Maul. I think he has a chance to become my number 1. Let's see what this series does, but he could become number 1. Darth Maul was really, I almost wanted to put him number 1 and do a spoiler alert, or upset alert, excuse me, but I think wait till this series and it could actually happen. It's like the MJ LeBron debate, you know?
Yeah. My number 2 is was always perceived as a bad guy, but then was he a good guy in his series? I don't know. Boba Fett. Boba Fett was always like the coolest, awesomest, like villain bounty hunter guy. He looked cool. He didn't have to say a word. He was just badass, and he was slick, and he just came in and just crushed. Boba Fett was one of my favorite characters always.
Yeah.
And that's number 2 on my list.
Yeah, that's why I mean, you brought a good point. It's kind of why he didn't make my list. Is like, he really borderlines on villain. I mean, he's ultimately neutral because he's just a mercenary. But yeah, but
he did bad stuff. Yeah,
he's a mercenary. So
I
did
mean, he put Han in carbonate, right?
Sure.
You got to be a villain if you're going to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
What you got?
Drew, what is your number 2?
You guys are making fun of Star Wars nerds earlier.
Drew cried when he said that.
Yeah.
Struggling so much with how much of nerds you guys are for Darth Maul. He's barely
Tom's a nerd.
He's
Just
barely on
Tom's
the
a nerd.
screen. He's barely on the screen. He looks like an
Yeah.
idiot.
Yeah, he's
He's got
badass.
spiky Hellraiser head and died in the lamest way imaginable. Like, what part of him is a great villain?
He's just so tight. Like, he's just badass.
Did you tell you
and
about when
his-
he had
Other than the getting killed in the most ridiculous
remember
way possible.
what about the double-edged lightsaber? I
Where
mean,
would
come on.
theme song?
This is why you guys are Star Wars nerds. That's okay. Number
He
2
wrote Thriller.
is Emperor Palpatine.
Thriller.
Emperor in the first trilogy, he is scary. He's terrifying when he and Luke go at it. It is, and he's throwing them all over the joint. He's a scary dude.
Yeah. I don't know. I never liked that name Palpatine. It sounds like something you do after you like run a mile.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I got Palpatine
Just
going
the
on. And,
just the Emperor then, and then number 1, I'm
well,
assuming
the Emperor's different.
Huh?
The Emperor is frightening. Palpatine is whatever.
the
person
Emperor.
the person that-
There's Senator
that Paul,
The Emperor
the
in
character that Paul brought up is
the Emperor in the
ridiculous.
first. And number 1, I'm sure he's number 1 on all of our lists. One of the greatest intros in any movie ever.
Premiere.
Like, the smoke on
Yes,
the
it's so smoky and the breathing.
players and the breathing, and it's Darth Vader, and he's the best.
Darth Vader is like, I mean, Darth Vader just edges out like a Hans Gruber for like greatest villains of all time, but like that's what we should have done. We should have done top 5 villains. We've done it before though. Huh?
Yeah, we've already done. And I think
Hans Gruber, I think, was number 1, right?
I think he was like 1 or 2. I think depending on the list. But yeah, he was
Yeah,
one.
that's number 1 on my list. Darth Vader's the best. I mean, Star Wars, let's be honest, 4, 5, and 6, it's about Darth Vader. It's not about Luke. It's not about Han. And then the first 3 is all about the emergence of Darth Vader. I mean, the Star Wars universe was centered around that character. He was a villain of all villains, and he was brilliant.
Yeah.
And the fact that James Earl Jones brought in that voice, my God,
that was
that
next level.
voice is just like,
And the
just
other
want
part
to get
too.
really low when I'm talking.
The other part too with Darth Vader. So he actually, when Drew talked about his kind of his intro scene, but in Rogue One, he also has another amazing scene at the end where they tie the 2 movies together, and it's kind of the
I'm
same.
gonna watch Rogue One again.
So good.
So
I
good.
need to watch it again. It's so good.
But I do really need
He
to watch
almost
it
made
again.
he almost made my list. Ben Mendelsohn's character in that.
Oh yeah, he was good. He was good.
That movie is awesome, and I think I've only seen it once.
If he
I'm
had
gonna
a
find
bigger
it right
role,
now.
he would make my list. But
Yeah,
he could easily take my Grand Admiral.
he was so cold-blooded.
Yeah. But that's a great scene for Darth Vader, and that's the most we really get to see the full power of Darth Vader, because we have now the technology to go along with the myths. It finally combines in this Darth Vader, where we get to see like how really badass he is, because he's able to just whirlwind people, and it looks great. And that's Rogue One. I love Rogue One. That's a different topic for another day.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch that. I'm gonna watch that tonight.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to wrap us up. Thank you guys for joining the special podcast on Phantom Menace. You can still see it in theaters, guys. If you're feeling crazy, you can go
Disney Plus.
Yeah, if you have AMC Plus, it does not cost extra, so you can see that now
Every week, 3 movies.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us. We appreciate you. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And with that, I'm just going to toss in a couple other episodes that we've done. Make sure you check out our Tombstone episode, which was our 100th episode. Check that one out, and
Best movie ever.
check those out. Thank you guys for your love and support. We appreciate you. With that, guys, that is a cut. Thank you.